What is up, guys? In today's video we're going to be spectating random players in Zero Build duos. As always, if you guys do find this video helpful and informative, remember to give a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more, and comment down below what level you've gotten to so far this season. We are approaching the end of the season, so you only have about 2 weeks or so left to unlock everything in this season's battle pass. If you are struggling to level up, any of the UEFN creative maps gives a lot of XP just for playtime, and you can usually find them in like the discovery tab. They're usually like pretty prominently promoted, like only up. And this is going to be duos. A lot of people asked me to make these on the team game modes, so we are going to be doing that this game. I'm not really sure where I want to land. See what's hot. It looks like Brutal looks pretty populated. There's like a decent spot to jump because I could go Slappy, I could go Brutal, we could go Lonely, but it seems like Brutal is decently populated, so we're just going to go ahead and head over here. Usually a pretty hot POI, and that's one of the reasons why I love landing here in Zero Build. This is probably where I land more so than any other location. Seems like we got a few teams here. See who is going to be the recipient of my crown. These people are getting involved. These people on the same team? Let's go. First piece of advice, I like that this team landed together. You see that they killed some people before they killed me. They killed me. This guy's pushing alone, but this duo ended up landing together, and that's going to make it much easier for them to play this early game. A lot of people struggle to land with their teammates. I feel like that is like the biggest meme in the Fortnite community of people that they complain that they land with their teammates don't land with them at all. They just like back out and leave the moment they die. But these people at least landed together, which is nice. You don't always need to land like directly on your teammate. Brutal is kind of different because it's got like a bunch of big buildings, but if you were going to land at a place with like a bunch of small buildings like Slappy, it's not like you would all need to land on the exact same building, but at least landing close enough to each other where you can help out in a fight, I feel like is super helpful for early game fights. And it's something that like gets ignored sometimes. Like you saw how many people pushed here alone, myself included, but yeah, just pushing alone or landing alone, having to fight a 2v1 off spawn just gives an automatic numbers advantage to that team. Not only is it going to be hard for the first player to win that fight, but like doing so makes it harder for the second player to win the fight. This should be a kill. To be honest, I think this red jade is an AI. They landed on the wall and started like pickaxing it. Not bad. Mr. Beast out here. Isn't that like ironic? Instead of Mr. Beast giving something away, I gave my crown to Mr. Beast. So we got rebooted across the map. He's landing on him, but again, Mr. Beast is gonna beam this guy. And I don't know where this player's teammate is. Oh, he ends up getting knocked. I don't know where Mr. Beast's teammate went. They were kind of split. Luckily, Mr. Beast was able to win his one, but he was weak enough where this Merry Marauder could easily get the kill. And now the Merry Marauder's going to push. I think they might have this kill. It seems like the Mr. Beast is the better of the two players here. His teammate has no shield. Playing the right shoulder peek. Both of these players are playing right shoulder peek, it seems. Mr. Beast's teammate ends up getting the kill, but I feel like that fight was actually played like decently well from both players. You saw the Merry Marauder got in, got the pump shot, and then immediately backed up, but random person 30 was able to push him out and get that kill. They're both weak, but there's a lot of coolers and Brutal, so they should be able to find heals. There's also a slurp truck, like kind of behind them now, like over to the left side there. It doesn't seem like they're aware of it. They're gonna be drinking minis, but they could just get that slurp truck together and then they'd be full HP. Looked like it was still there. But they got minis and bigs. I'm assuming this random person had an extra big since, yeah, they gave Mr. Beast their big. There are shockwaves to the right there. It doesn't seem like either of those players are really interested in that, and that definitely a mistake in my opinion. I think shockwaves are very good in Zero Build. I've talked about it countless times, but another reason why they can be so good in team game mode specifically, not only is it like all the stuff I always talk about with mobility in terms of how useful they can be in fights for like getting high ground and repositioning. Now this Mr. Beast has a repeater, so that's going to be like a deadly combo, but also just getting slightly different angles than your teammate and like a mid-range fight makes it so easy to like clean that fight up and kind of force the other team into a situation where they're either getting tagged by you or your teammate. And shockwaves make it really easy to just kind of quickly make a small adjustment with where your character is and get like different angles on opponents. Also, just lack of mobility really leaves you susceptible to just outright losing to poor timing. You don't really have anything to reset fights or, you know, get out of that bad timing. BRs have a lot of randomness in them. Like, a lot of people hear that and they're like, they think of like loot RNG, but just like where you encounter people's varies drastic, or where you encounter people varies drastically from game to game. You know, you can play right and, you know, play in the most structured way, like predicting where people are, but Fortnite players will be doing the most random stuff and just be in a random building somewhere and beam you, and that timing without mobility to reset the fight can really just determine the outcome of it. Also, getting third-partied and things of that nature, I feel like it's just way easier to respond to with mobility. We'll see if any of that kind of comes back to bite these people. I talk about that a lot on the channel, but I like kind of setting things up when spectating games like this, talking about some of like the potential things I see them doing wrong and how that might come back to cost them later on in the game. Gonna use the Optimus Prime cannon on the boss. I actually don't know how effective that is. I've never done it. Works decently well. He ends up hitting himself a lot, but that's not really a big deal. He has a shield fish, and he's probably going to end up taking slurps from the vault anyway. So yeah, he can just go ahead and burn that. They can get splashes or anything, those barrels in the vault. I feel like now you just want to get into the vault as fast as possible after eliminating the boss. Obviously, check for campers and stuff, but you don't want to just straggle around here with the key card because you're marked on the map. And other people, when second zone happens and the vault spawns up, they might be on their way to get here. And they killed the boss pretty quick, so that other team could easily be on their way. So personally, I would just like to get in and out of the vault as fast as possible. Also, walking around with the keycard out is unnecessary. You just don't need to do that. Doesn't matter. There wasn't people here, but in the event there was people camping this vault, not only were they a few seconds delayed, but running around with the keycard out, there's just no benefit to doing that. You might as well have your weapon out when going up to the vault like that. This player likes the Havoc arrow. That's interesting. Very few players choose to run that typically. They're going to get the gold, but in this vault, you could just farm the floor to break the floor, and then you get all the gold. I think it's Brutal and Shattered are the only vaults you can do that, so you don't really need to be farming the gold piece by piece. Yeah, this player's just not going to take slurps. It seems like the other player took both stacks of slurps. We'll see how this plays. I really dislike the lack of mobility, and I also not a huge fan of the Havoc Hour. I would rather have a white MK Alpha than a mythic Havoc Hour, and I don't think I'm alone in that. Comment down below which you would rather take between the Havoc and the mythic, or between the mythic Havoc and the white MK. I think most people would rather have the common MK. There was a player ziplining behind them. They could just leave though. They really don't need to be worried about this. The other players might be above them. That could be the NPC out here, though. I think it's the NPC because nothing has happened yet. Combat cache is going to spawn in 2 seconds. I feel like typically... Are they going to capture this? I feel like typically you want to position yourself next to some sort of natural mobility the moment third zone pops. That way you can get to your combat cache quickly. I don't think it's going to show it for me for some reason on Spectator, but the combat caches are really good. Not only is it more slurps, but it's a guaranteed Havoc pump corresponding with the rarity that you get it. So if you get it right away, guaranteed legendary Havoc pump, which is nice. Also, some sort of spray weapon, but the pumps are the main reason I want it. And like I said, I feel like the best way to get it quickly is just to position yourself near some sort of natural mobility, like launch pads or the rift statues that are in the jungle, and then rift or take the launch pad the moment third zone opens and you see where your cache is, and then hopefully you're able to get it at gold rarity, but if not, purple rarity. Also, they were capturing this point the entire time solo. You can actually capture it faster now with multiple people on it. That was something that was changed in this week's update. So now for every person that gets on the point, I think it takes 15 seconds left. I think it's like a minute solo, and then 45, and then 30, and then 15 seconds if you have 4 players on a team on it. So you can actually capture the point really quickly if you stack it with all of your teammates. And that is a huge deal when it comes to fighting Loot Island, because like I was talking about before with like positioning yourself near some sort of natural mobility when third zone opens, you can do the same thing with fourth zone. Like if you're at one of those rift statues prepared for fourth zone to open, and then the moment it occurs and you see where island spawns, you rift to it, stack it with your entire team, and you can capture it insanely fast if you choose to do that and get the mythic drum shotty. I feel like the mythic drum shotty isn't as sought after as like the overclocked pulse rifle was last season, but if your team likes running the drum shotty, then, you know, getting that practice down of just, you know, all capturing, like getting near the rift when fourth zone opens, rushing the island, getting it quickly in 15 seconds, and then getting out of there with the mythic drums, I think could be a pretty effective strategy. I do not really like the way this team is playing this. It seems like they're just camping out at Brutal Bash and waiting for zone. And this is kind of the point where, like, I ponder, should I be switching players? Shots fired towards the ice lake, so hopefully they kind of go for that. I get why people would want to just chill somewhere and not do anything, but as far as, like, you know, the content, it's not really that entertaining. I guess they were looking for that team that launch padded out, and now they found that team out here fighting the llama. We'll see if he's able to get anything done with the Havoc Air. Gets a few shots on that player, but with an MK there, he could have had a higher fire rate, and that would have hopefully led to more damage on that player. But they end up having to tap fire the Havoc Air, and then while they do get some damage, it's not the guaranteed knock I feel like it would be if they were using an MK. Another team pulled up, so they're just going to keep playing range, but this player doesn't really have a loadout that is ideal for range at all, you know? Like, the Havoc Air is actually quite good in, like, close to medium range, but it's, like, at longer ranges, I personally don't see much of a reason to have it over the MK. Because you do kind of have to worry about, do I tap fire it and have a very limited fire rate to have good accuracy, or do I spam, have a decent fire rate, but my gun is very inaccurate? Like, you kind of have to make that trade-off, whereas with the MK you don't really have to worry about that because it is a perfectly accurate weapon with the red dot if you can control the recoil, but it doesn't have, like, bloom like the third-person weapons do. Are they just gonna chill in this igloo? I'm very confused as to what happened with those teams that were back there fighting. They just, like, stopped fighting. Maybe one... it looked like some of them might have hit the wind tunnel and been out. Maybe they all just hit it. Like, one team hit it, and then the second team was chasing them using it. Because there's that wind tunnel that's in, like, the little crevice there. Yeah, fighting's still going on. They could get... if I was them, I would want to get on this building. For sure. Because not only does that building have high ground over everything around here, but it also has a launch pad, so you can use that to get out of here if you want to. Whereas, like, where they are right now, they're really susceptible to people camping on that building, and they're also really susceptible to, like, the high ground that's over here. Like, this spot is, like, not... there's no benefit to being where they are, I feel like. And they're just kind of stagnating and not really doing anything, and I feel like that is something a lot of people struggle with in this game, is, like, they don't really know what to do, so they just end up doing nothing. And... we'll see if this comes back to bite them. It might not, but they could have had control of this building if they wanted to, or they could have had control of this hill. I feel like either of those spots would have been much better than where they were. And it ended up not costing them, but that's kind of like the randomness I was talking about with BRs. Like, the way you kind of limit deaths to things like that is just, like, consistently putting yourself in the ideal spot. This is a good range for the Havoc Air. They're fighting two separate teams, though. He needs to, like, quickly get this kill, I think. I think now he can focus, help his teammate. I don't know. This really stinks because there's people at that building, it sounds like. His teammate is shooting different people. Yeah, they're fighting two completely different teams. His teammate needs help. Like, he needs to just let those kills go and help his teammate, probably. And it very may well be that the people that he was fighting are on his teammate. Someone zipped behind him. Yeah, this is just costly. And you see here that, like, kind of stagnation and doing nothing for a long time may end up losing them the game. If they went to the building, they might have been fighting that team anyways. That team that his teammate was fighting might have just been chilling in the building the whole time. But either way, I think getting that building is more beneficial than just kind of doing nothing and then dying to it anyways. Like, I would rather fight the team in the building and potentially win that fight and have the spot, or lose the game and, you know, go next, rather than just kind of doing nothing and then losing to them anyways. There's just a lot of people in this area for some reason. Someone in the igloo. I don't know if he's going to go try to revive his teammate. This is that person from earlier. Yeah, like, that was a solo that he almost killed. Again, I have to wonder, like, if he was using the loadout I use, if he was running MK Pump Explosive Repeater, he could have forced that Harley Quinn out when she was kind of in that corner earlier, and maybe killed that team sooner and then tried to help his teammate. But it's a really weird fight where you're, like, both players were kind of split fighting different teams, and his teammate did a very good job of buying time, but it just took him too long to kill that team that was low ground. He does clutch up there. His teammate bled out, but it's fine. There's a reboot van on them. Drink the slurp. Played that very well with the right shoulder peek. Not only did he, you know, have right shoulder peek the whole time, so the people he was fighting not only is it just weird to push into here, and there's like that statue there that might have thrown him off, but also this Mr. Beast has like right shoulder peek in a corner behind a porta potty. It's probably very awkward for them to see him, and that was a good use of right shoulder peek. Like, he had to expose very little of his character in order to get shots, and that allowed him to win that 2v1. Part of that was also because they kind of pushed one at a time. I feel like when it comes to like pushing people in there, you either push them or you don't. But if you're gonna push them together. Like, the first one can go a little first to bait out shots, but the second one needs to be like quick to follow up. Also, where the explosive repeater would have been very good, because they could have just easily flushed that player out from behind that little spot without exposing much of themselves. But you know, that all things considered, that's a pretty good recovery. This Mr. Beast actually like really clutched up in those fights there. Despite kind of throwing, I really just do not like the Havoc arrow over the MK. The SMG over the repeater, it can be fine. I think a lot of it comes down to preference. You saw there, he did use the SMG well. Like, it worked out for him. But the utility of the repeater is very nice, and I feel like had they had that, they might not have been in that situation to begin with. But very, very good recovery. He played that like 1v2, like the best he could play it. The other team did kind of play into it, but that's how it goes with like numbers disadvantageous situations. Like, you can do the right thing, but it's kind of up to the other team to play into it sometimes. Now this game is really dead. They have 7 opponents remaining. One thing I want to talk about, because I would assume a lot of people know this, but there might be some people that don't know this, is that I have to remove the webcam. So you see here it says players or squads left. The squads are teams. There's 9 players, 5 teams. So if it was 5 full duos, it'd be 10 players. So there's 4 full duos and 1 single player. Not the biggest deal right now, but when you get deep into endgame, you know, and being able to look at this number and quickly do the math and determine how many duos you're fighting or how many solos you're fighting, you know, can change how you want to play the game. If it's a 2v2 and you see 3 teams there and you have your teammate still left alive, then you know it's your duo and 2 solos. And just kind of quickly being able to do that math and understand the situation can give you a lot of info of how you want to play things, you know. Just if there's 2 teams left aside from yours and they're both fighting, then you know, like, third partying that will probably win you the game, you know. And keeping track of where other people, oh my god, keeping track of where like the known quantities are in endgame and being able to predict that based off like team size and team remaining can be pretty helpful. Gets the kill there, back up and heal. This isn't good. I don't know how much damage his teammate did. This fight stinks for him. Unfortunately, he doesn't have any fast heals. He clutches up, but I really did not like that fight. His teammate may have had that person pretty weak. I don't think though. It seemed like he did a lot of damage. That lady kind of threw, I'm not gonna lie. I feel like this angle was way more advantageous for her. Like, sure, that lady had low ground, but it's very easy for her to peek, expose very little of her character. And you see the angle he has now. I guess it kind of passed, but if you go back to when he was reviving his teammate and paused, you could see, like, from that angle, the area where the Mr. Beast was pushing from was entirely exposed, no cover or anything. And for the Mr. Beast, all he saw was, like, the top of her head. Like, when you're low ground and you're playing, like, a close piece of cover like that, it is actually somewhat advantageous. The same thing would happen here, Like, if someone was to play low ground there and then somebody was pushing right up to the cliff, the low ground player is actually pretty advantaged in that situation because it's just way harder for them to see. That lady threw. I feel like neither team was honestly paying attention there. They both seemed really surprised. I feel like that elite agent should have been able to hear this team coming, and then also probably should have had them on visual audio if they're using the visualized sound effects, which is in the audio tab, and it's very, very effective. I highly recommend using it. They would have seen this team on visuals and then heard them coming or saw them coming and known about it, but at the very least, or just off audio, they should have heard them coming, I feel like. And then even then, the Mr. Beast like seemed to take a while to react to it. This is a good spot, but no MK, so it's going to be hard for them to defend it. This is a somewhat ideal range for the MK, or the Havoc arrow, sorry. And they have cover and this other team doesn't. 7 people, 4 teams. So if they win this fight, it's going to be 5 people, 3 teams. There's still a solo somewhere. Okay. So yeah, now it's 5 people, 3 teams, and they're a duo. So in reality, it's 3 opponents, 2 teams. It's a duo and a solo somewhere. And that's crucial, because if they get a knock, let's say, and they can thirst that knock, then at that point, they know it's 2 solos left in the game. If they were looking at the little numbers thing on the side of the screen like I was talking about. And I'm not sure how many people know about that or take advantage of it. Comment down below if you made it this far in the video. Does your team kind of take advantage of that player count total thing? on the left side of the screen when you open the map, because I think that actually can be pretty helpful. And if you have someone that's dead on the team, like let's say it's trios and it's 2 alive and 1 dead, the person that's dead could be kind of communicating that. That way the people playing don't have to like look at it and do the math in their head. And then I feel like also the person that's dead can kind of zoom in on the map and ping things. Hold on. We'll open it up again once zone happens. I don't know if I can ping things. I mean, I guess I should be able to, but I don't know if they'll see it, like, on the spectator. Like, me spectating, we'll see it, we'll see. But, like, what I was trying to say with them getting that hill and maybe not being able to defend it since they don't have an MK, if a team was, like, running out in the open, they can't punish that team in the same way with the Havoc Arrow. And, like, that just makes Havoc Arrow. So, like, if you're dead in this situation, just looking at the map and pinging where zone is like that for them makes it easier, because you'll see, they don't see this, but since it's my ping, I see it, you know? My team, it pings on the ground and then they'll know exactly where zone is. So if you're dead, communicating things like that, like pinging where zone is, and then also, you know, looking at the side of the screen and seeing the numbers and adding up how many teams are left alive and stuff like that, letting your teammates know, hey, it's a duo and a solo, that makes it easier for them to play the game. And that can be a way for you to kind of contribute if you are knocked. Thing not to do is just backseat game and tell them how they should be playing. Like, hey, there's a guy there. That's one of the most annoying things ever. I've played with people like that when they're dead and spectating, they'll say like, oh my god, he's there, and it's just like, how does that benefit anybody, you know? This is a duo, so this is why that information is helpful. There's 2 people behind that tree. There's one of them's an NPC, but there is another player you see that just got that knock. They can just leave this now. This is very good for them. Just get to zone, and now they know, okay, we knocked one of the duos. They're probably going to die to storm. It's just a solo left in the game at this point. Or, you know, a duo and a solo, but one of the duos is knocked. And that gives them an automatic numbers advantage in any situation they get into. His teammate is kind of pushing this. Oh my gosh, that's not ideal. Imagine he dies to the purple ball. Okay, 1v1 now. But that's just unnecessary. Once they get that knock and they make it basically a 2v1v1, it's so advantageous in their situation just to get to zone. Sure, he could push that and maybe get the kill, but you don't need to, you know? It's just unnecessary. Like, that was an unnecessary risk, and we'll see if it comes back to cost them. No, GG's. Okay, the Mr. Beast wins. But again, that was an unnecessary risk. Like, you saw how close that got there. Whereas when they got that knock, they could have just split to the left side, gone to zone, known that for the rest of the game, we have a numbers advantage, and basically all we have to do is not throw and we win the game. And that was an almost throw situation, but the Mr. Beast kind of clutched up in all of those situations. Ended up winning the game, but that is going to be it for this video. I hope you guys found this helpful, informative, interesting. If you did, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.